Hey everyone, welcome back to another Pnso review. Today we'll be taking a look at Perez, the Machairoceratops. Well, you look at this, a new Pnso figure that arrived here in a reasonable amount of time. I guess Amazon is getting their crap back together. I'm just kidding. I ordered this from AliExpress. I am done ordering Pnso figures from Amazon ever since the Sorapelta went missing. So yeah, this figure arrived in 19 days from AliExpress, and I couldn't be happy. I was actually shocked today when I got home and I saw a package sitting on the doorstep. But I'll still leave the link to the Amazon listing in the description. My best advice is wait till these actually become available for Prime shipping. That means they are in the US and you should get them within a few days. So my best advice is either order these from AliExpress or wait for Everything Dinosaur to get these in, or even order them from Dan's Dinosaur. I heard from a couple other reviewers that they've been getting their figures in about a month from him. So before we take a closer look at this figure, let's just go over the packaging really quick. Comes in the standard prehistoric animal models packaging that we've been seeing since the line started. Got a beautiful full art picture of a really nice looking Perez on the front. Just like most PNSO figures, the prototype images do not match up to the in-hand product. The paint scheme is still decent on this figure, but we'll get into those differences a little bit later in the review. Then on the top of the box, you have a close-up of Perez's head. And then inside the box, you get a little pamphlet with some information about this dinosaur. And usually they'll have a skeletal right here, but Machairoceratops is known from very, very fragmented remains. It's just a couple pieces of the skull, so that's no surprise that they do not have a skeletal of this animal. So anyways, let's take a closer look at Perez. So let's start with a nice 360-degree view of the Machairoceratops. This was a figure I was very excited for when it was first announced. Machairoceratops is a very obscure ceratopsian species, and I believe this is the first figure we have of this animal. The paint scheme is okay. Like I said, it does not match up to the prototype images, but that's pretty common for PNSO. The main body color is this tan color with all these black markings. The black markings I think came out pretty nice looking, but I just wish we had a little bit of that green that was on the prototype image to break up all that tan color. And the only other problem I have with the paint scheme are those really cracked out looking eyes. I kind of feel like those take away from the sculpt. They look so much nicer on the prototype. But like I said, just, PNSO's in-hand products and prototypes is always a vast difference. I think the closest that we have gotten lately is the new Spinosaurus in terms of how it looks in the prototype versus what you get in hand. So let's just do a couple quick measurements. This figure is about 6¼ inches long from the tip of the beak to the tip of the tail, and just about 3 inches tall to the top of those curved horns on the top of the frill. So there's really not many size estimates on this species of dinosaurs. Like I said, it's just known from a couple fragments of skull material. So I had to do some digging just to find, some guess on the size of this animal, and I saw that the maximum length would be 7 meters or just under 23 feet long. So if you're using that maximum size estimate, that'll put this figure well over the 140 scale range, actually put it closer to the 145 scale range, but I'm sure this animal is probably a little bit smaller, so it probably would bring it down to that 135 scale range. Alright, let's zoom in and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with this really nice head sculpt. Like I said a couple times during the review, Machairoceratops is only known from a few skull fragments, so pretty much everything you see here is pretty speculative. The brow horns are nicely sculpted and very sharp. Same things with these curved horns on the top of the frill. They are made of a flexible material, so you don't have to worry about these breaking off, but they are very sharp to the touch, which is kind of funny because, these PNSO figures, especially if you read the little pamphlets they come with, they are definitely trying to gear these towards kids, even though these are really nice, high-quality dinosaur figures. And they are not dulling down the spikes and points on these figures. They're really sharp, especially when you compare it to another company like Safari, like their Triceratops and Allosaurus figures. They really dull down those claws because, they're gearing them towards kids, even though a lot of adult collectors collect them. So I just always find that really interesting that, PNSO toys are pretty much weapons. So anyways, the mouth is sculpted wide open. It is not articulated. I kind of wish it was because it would have been nice to open and close the mouth. They did it with a little bit larger Triceratops figure that came out a few years ago. But it is pretty nice. I just like how it looks. It's just this big gaping maw on this Machairoceratops. So you can see the beak is nicely painted in. The nostril, you have a lot of nice scale variation along the head. The frill has a lot of beautiful scale detail. You have a little bit of white right here for some color. The horns are done in a dark gray that slowly go to white. That is a nice touch. And then you have that really bright, cracked out on drugs eyes with the black pupil. That's like really my least favorite thing about this figure. It looks so much nicer on the pamphlet. I know, I'm comparing it to a prototype. There's really no point in doing it, but I just wish the eye was painted a little bit better. I feel like it really distracts from this figure. Then you have a little bit of black highlights along the edge of the frill, and then inside the mouth you can see there's some beautiful dentation sculpted in there. Inside the mouth is painted in pink, has a gloss coat to give it that lifelike look, which is really well done. And then going down to the body, you have a lot of beautiful scale detail, a lot of large osteoderms sprinkled around the whole body. It looks really nice. Very tactile feel, feels great in hand. You can see all those black markings are beautifully painted on this figure. Like I said, the main body coloration is just this really tan color on the prototype. I just kind of wish some of that green was mixed in here just to kind of break it up. But it's not a bad paint scheme at all, just when you compare it to the prototype images. It does look a little bit lackluster, but I do like it. It's very natural looking. And then going down to the toe claws, you can see the toe claws are painted really nice. Now I do have some paint wear on these toe claws right here, and just a little bit on the nose. And I've been seeing this from other reviewers and collectors that a lot of the figures coming in have a lot of paint wear on them. Actually, a couple of mine have come with it. So, you know, even though they're packaged in those boxes with the plastic insert, for some reason, they are getting scuffed up in there, which is a shame. So I hopefully somewhere down the road, Pnso works out that quality control issue. And then going down to the hind legs, you can see some nice muscle definition. The feet all have the appropriate amount of toes and claws. You have this really nicely sculpted tail. A little bit of flexible plastic, so you have to worry about the tip of the tail breaking off. And then turning it over, you get some nice scale detail and variation along the bottom of the figure with a very, collected looking stamp on the bottom that you really can't tell is there unless you turn it over. It's not gigantic like it was on that Collecti Allosaurus that came out this year. And then you do have your little dino bum hole. So yeah, all in all, I really like this figure. I think for like a $17 figure, I think this is a really good looking Ceratopsian. All right, let's move on with some comparisons. First up are some of the other Ceratopsians from Pnso. So here is their old Triceratops. Here it is with their prehistoric animal models. Spinops, and here it is with their Pachyrhinosaurus. Let me just try to get these all in ascending order, and I think that looks really nice. Pnso is definitely cranking out some really nice Ceratopsians this year. We do have a Sinoceratops that I did order, and I should probably have that figure in a couple of weeks, hopefully. So yeah, if you're a Ceratopsian collector, it's been a great year between what Pnso's been cranking out and Beasts of the Mesozoic. And one more thing I want to point out, it's almost like a night and day difference with these earlier prehistoric animal models. These newer ones, even though I am a little bit critical of like some of the paint work on some of these figures, which is always an issue with Pnso, the sculpting detail is just light years ahead of this Spinops figure, which came out just about a year ago. It's just doesn't even feel like it belongs in the same line, and I just really, really am happy the direction that Pnso is going with. These figures are absolutely gorgeous. For around $20, they're absolutely fantastic deal for these really scientifically accurate figures. And here it is with some safari ceratopsians. Here it is with their Triceratops and my personal favorite, their Pneudoceratops. You could clearly see what I was talking about earlier, the really sharp horns on the Pnso figures compared to the dulled out horns on the safari figures. I love the look of these sharp horns on the Pnsos. And here it is with a few of the Beasts of the Mesozoic Ceratopsians. Here it is with the Zuniceratops. And here it is with the awesome looking Medusaceratops. Let me just zoom out just a little bit. And here it is with the Chasmosaurus. So, like I said, absolutely fantastic year if you're into Ceratopsian figures. And here it is with the old Pnso Wilson T-Rex, and I cannot wait until the new fat-ass version comes out. I am so looking forward to that one. And here it is with some of the other figures that I've released this year in the prehistoric animal models line. Here it is with the Lambeosaurus, Barilla Pelta, and here it is with the Spinosaurus that was recently reviewed on the channel. And I have a newfound respect for this figure. A few people pointed out that, I was complaining about the size of the Spinosaurus figure. That's actually based off the subadult specimen that had the paddle-like tail. So yeah, this figure is 135 scale, and I appreciate every more. This figure is definitely going to make it high up on my top 10 figure list of 2020. I just go wait for a few more Pnsos to come in before I round out that top 10 list. So final thoughts on the Machairoceratops. I think it's a great figure, especially for 17 bucks. What more can you want? It is beautifully sculpted and detailed. The paint job is good. I do have a few critiques with it. Like I said, I just don't like the way the eyes came out. I just wish there was a little bit more green in there to break up that tan color. But for the price point of these Pnso figures, they're just all fantastic. Just minor critiques aside. And the way they are pumping out figures, they are definitely putting all other dinosaur companies that we love, like Safari and Collectate, on notice. I mean, they are just cranking out figure each week. And I even heard that they basically have a new figure planned every week until I think at least February. So they have a lot more up their sleeve. So in the end, yes, I highly recommend this figure. I actually highly recommend any figure from PNS. So they're just doing an absolutely fantastic job, and I am more than happy to give them my money every single week with all these rapid fire releases. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I'll leave a link in the description to Amazon. But, word of advice, just speaking from personal experience, I'd wait for these figures to come into Prime shipping so they're in the US, you actually get them. Because I've been having an issue or two getting a few of mine in. Or just order them from AliExpress, Everything Dinosaur, or even Dan's Dinosaur. All three of those places are great, especially Dan's and Everything Dinosaur. I've never had issues with those two companies. So that'll do it for the review. Hopefully I'll be having more of a steady stream of PNS reviews coming in since I have switched from ordering from Amazon. So as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.